collective statement has been shared by abortion provider MSI and many supporting bodies to push for abortion up to birth, or decrim. Here's our response at March for Life UK. You say that over the last couple of years, investigations into pregnancy loss and abortions are happening in numbers never seen before. Any thoughts on why this might be? Do you really think it's merely coincidence that since the introduction of pills by post or DIY abortions, there's been an increased amount of women taking abortion pills after the cutoff limit? This is a situation that you, the abortion providers, and all who support you have enabled. Since a change in the law a few years ago, women have been able to take abortion pills at home and receive these pills without even speaking to a doctor, let alone seeing one. At your request, there's no requirement for an in-person appointment of any kind. No scan is given, so you can't really be certain that you're speaking to a pregnant woman, or if you are, what gestation she's at. And even then, you can't be sure that the pills are for her. And no, this isn't far-fetched imagining. Just as many pro-lifers anticipated, this is exactly what has happened, even to the point where a devious boyfriend asked another pregnant woman to obtain abortion pills so that he could secretly administer them and poison his own baby to death. Yes, I use the word poison, because that's what the court found him guilty of administering. Strange, isn't it? That if a person takes the drugs inadvertently, they're poison. But if the same person takes them intentionally, they're medication. The effect doesn't change though, does it? The preborn child dies. You state that the current law, introduced in 1861, was passed 67 years before women were able to vote, in an era where large crowds gathered to watch public executions, and that part of the abortion law can be traced back to 1623. As I'm sure you're aware, many of our current laws have origins dating back hundreds of years. The Magna Carta was established in the 13th century, but has principles in it which are relevant today, whether it's that the king isn't above the law or that citizens have rights to a fair trial. We aren't going to dismiss these simply because they were established many years ago. You recount a host of emotional stories showing women who've been investigated for crimes relating to the death of a child. I grant you that the way some women have been treated has been heavy-handed and unnecessary, which does need to change. When a death occurs, though, questions do need to be asked, particularly when the death occurs outside of a medical setting. When caring for my elderly father at home, I was told that if his death occurred at home, then questions may need to be asked, despite him being terminally ill, and that could include an autopsy, which I might find hard to accept. How much more should questions need to be asked over the death of a young child? This needs to be done with the greatest sensitivity possible. But to not ask questions is to take away the protection of the law that every human being deserves. Whether punishment is given to the perpetrator of a crime should be decided on a case-by-case basis after evaluating the situation. This, of course, involves discerning who holds the responsibility and any mitigating circumstances. Please, stop talking about your alleged concerns over women being criminalised. If this was a genuine concern, you would be asking for pills by post to be rescinded. This is a disingenuous and deceitful push to allow for abortion up to birth for any reason, despite our already very liberal abortion laws. You say that the current law doesn't reflect modern values. Now, you might be right in this. I think people would be hard-pressed to say what values modern Britain does hold in 2025. Animal rights values, sometimes. Climate values, maybe. But nothing that's going to save us from our rapidly decreasing birth rate. In this case, the law needs to act as a guide to help lift our values before our valueless society, with help from MSI and BPAS, aborts itself into oblivion. And yes, we noted your footnote of abortion is essential healthcare and how it should be managed as all other healthcare. But you don't really believe that, do you? Because if it was like other healthcare, it would go on women's medical records. If it was like other healthcare, women would have to fully understand the procedure before undertaking it. If it was like other healthcare but carried the risks that it does, then it would happen in a healthcare setting, not in a home. If it was like other healthcare, then other options would be properly presented to the woman and she'd be given time to think about them. But it's not like other healthcare. Because unlike other healthcare, it's considered successful not when someone survives, but when someone dies.